What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go! Let's go is right. As I have to find the button, hit the right button to put me on here live. Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You're watching 40 Days, 40 Nights, where I, your boy EJ Stewart, does 2 live stream shows per day. 1 in the morning, shortly after 8 a.m. 1 in the evening, shortly after 6 p.m. And this one is a big episode live stream for tonight because we have the great Zach Gelb joining me live in just about 15 minutes. Shout out to Zach. He'll be joining me live. We'll talk all things sports, catch up on what he's been doing post the end of Infinity Sports Network, and get some fun chatter. Again, I told you guys earlier in the morning, Zach has been busy, and it's been really inspiring. Everybody's been inspiring during this whole stretch, from the folks that have been at Infinity and everything they've been doing, how they've approaching it. And Zach has been one of the more inspiring folks for me, because he's been right there on the grind, man. He's been doing his new show that he has, the Zach Gelb Show, which is now on 365 Sports. So if you guys check that out, head over to their YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to them. Make sure you follow Zach on all social media platforms. So he's been doing his show daily, not twice a day, but daily still, one day through Friday. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what he's been doing there. He's already made some news. We played you the Christian Fourier sound from, a couple weeks ago, talking about his beef with Deion Sanders. I'm definitely going to be excited to get Zach's thoughts on what Christian Fourier said. And Zach, being someone who I told you guys before, I think has a pretty good pulse on what's going on with the Colorado program, where he thinks things stand as Coach Prime enters year 4 of his tenure at Colorado. We're also going to talk, obviously, about the Patriots. He's a objective sports commentator. Zach is a true pro. But if there's any little bias he may have, is that he does love his Patriots, and he was there for the Super Bowl. He was covering the Super Bowl. He was there all Super Bowl week, and then he was there obviously for the game. So he saw the Patriots lose, and there was some commentary about what they may do in the offseason that we're going to get to in just a couple of minutes about Mike Vrabel, his relationship with A.J. Brown, and whether or not a trade is possible. I'm going to ask Zach about if he thinks that is something that would be a good fit. We'll also talk about other stuff happening in the NFL, college football, NBA, as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. He's been to a ton of Knicks games. Seems to get great seats. Zach, if you ever need a buddy, if someone drops out, I'm your man. I'll gladly step in and go to a Knicks game with you. But no, Zach's the man. Great dude. Absolute grinder and one of the best in the business. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. We'll also talk, as I mentioned, about Mike Vrabel and the comments he made about A.J. Brown and his affinity for A.J. Brown. Seems like they still have a really good relationship. So perhaps a fit could be there for a potential A.J. Brown trade. And the king, LeBron James, once again inserting himself. He's so opportunistic. Like this report that came out today, and I guess in theory you can't control when the reports come out, and maybe it's just the reporters being opportunistic themselves. But we start to have all these questions about the Knicks. Seems like more and more likely that maybe this isn't the team we thought they were going to be. At least that's what a lot of folks still feel. And then here comes the report: LeBron James would be interested in joining the Knicks this offseason. It's like, oh, here you go. Here's where this stuff happens. So we'll get into that in a few minutes as well. We'll also talk about beef brewing in Major League Baseball. I love some beef. I think there's no harm in having some beef. And we got something brewing with a star for the Chicago Cubs taking aim at the Los Angeles Dodgers. I almost talked about this a couple of days ago, and I kind of did, to be honest, but I kind of forgot to add it into the show. And then once it kind of passed, I just moved on. But it's still a story. And it's still being talked about. So we're going to talk about it tonight and what's going on with Pete Crow Armstrong, why he has beef with the LA Dodgers fans. So 40 days, 40 nights coming at you. This is going to be a good one. Again, your host, EJ Stewart, here rocking with you for the next 2 hours or so, however long this episode ends up being. Streaming live multiple spots, including on YouTube, New Generation Media. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media, and make sure to comment in the comment section if you can, and support the channel in any way you can. We greatly appreciate you. We're also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart on X. If you can give us a like on X. If you can comment in the comment section on X. Again, we greatly appreciate it. It seems like my dad is in X saying, let's go. Hey, what's up, Dad? So if you want to support us that way, again, you can watch us on X. We're live on X. Search EJ_Stewart on X to find me there. And we're streaming live on Instagram. Action EJ is where you'll find me on IG Live. And of course, you can join the show and talk plenty of smack or just praise, whatever you want to say, in the comment section on Instagram as well. I see all comments and I'm able to bring them up to the show. So again, I'm really excited about this one and excited to have Zach Gelb coming up in just about 9 minutes. Let me set you up with what I want to talk about with Zach Gelb, and starting with Mike Vrabel. So Vrabel, he had his press conference today. You know, Combine, again, all these teams are having their media availabilities before the guys work out. Plenty of players spoke today. There were some interesting things we heard from the players. Arvo Reese seemed very open to potentially joining the New York Jets, as of course now is the time when Lita decides she wants to be bossy. I'm playing with fire by allowing my dog Lita. Oh yeah, she's being crazy. So let me see if I can maybe. Lita, you want to calm down, or are you gonna let me do the show? Or do I gotta get you out? I might get her out. But so give me 1 second. I'm gonna mute my mic quickly and get her out of here, because Lita is deciding that she's not gonna. I thought I could play ball with her and say, hey, she was good yesterday, so maybe today I can let her sit in here while I do the show. Seems like that's not the case. So give me 1 second. And we're back. Sorry about that. Try to give Lita a chance. Lita wanted to hang out with me. She likes hanging out. She doesn't like being alone out there, because I do the show at night. Andre's usually teaching yoga, so it's me and her. Usually she has to go out there and kind of stay in the living room by herself. Last night she seemed like she wanted to hang out. So okay, I'll let you hang out. For the most part, she was behaving. Today, any kind of noise could make her want to do something, so she heard something out there. So anyway, she's gone. Back to Vrabel. Vrabel had his first media availability as we get ready for his workouts, and again, some draft prospects spoke as well. Arvo Reese seemed very open to being a New York Jet, which again, it's the kind of thing you want to hear. And he has said some very positive words about the Jets in terms of their professionalism and them feeling like they're an organization that definitely is looking to turn this thing around. So he seemed to be very impressed. Ruben Bain, I know, was talking about the fact that most of the teams he spoke to weren't concerned about his allegedly short arms, though we'll learn for sure how short his arms actually are. That has been the big question mark with Ruben Bain. The tape is undeniable, but for him, in terms of being a star player, guys who have less than 32-inch arm length at his position particularly don't play very well in the NFL, and there's thoughts that he has pretty short arms. We'll know for sure by tomorrow when everybody gets measured what exactly his arm length is. He says that has not been a concern of the teams that he has spoke to, though. So we're getting some talk from the players and from the coaches. Mike Vrabel was one of them, and the Patriots are considered one of the teams that are perhaps a potential fit for A.J. Brown, who we know has had his gripes with the Eagles and his issues with the team. He's talked about the offense. He's talked about their inability to get him involved and how much he prefers to be a bigger part of their offense. And it caused headaches the last 2 seasons. It caused a lot of headaches this past year where the Eagles fell short of their goals and they got eliminated in the wild card round. So while Howie Roseman seems to once again be couching that he's not necessarily looking to shop A.J. Brown, I, for one, have been saying that I think there's a lot of this is a smokescreen that you'll see A.J. Brown on the move at this point, because I think it would be silly to think that you can have this level of chaos that he brings to the team and think that it'd be smart to bring him back. So I don't think he'll be there, but Howie Roseman is certainly playing it straight right now, where it seems like he's not necessarily talking like somebody who is trying to trade A.J. Brown. So I want you guys to hear from Mike Vrabel, because he was asked about relationships he has with foreign players and mentioned A.J. Brown as someone that he still has a relationship that he cherishes.
It has meant a lot. I've watched him grow. I've watched him mature. I'm proud of him. Proud of the father that he is. I'm proud of the husband, and that has nothing to do with where he plays and where he played. So those are the things that are important. We reach out and text each other during the things that happen good to each other, and sometimes things don't go so well for the people that you're close with, and you text those as well. So it's a two-way street of support and reminders of what got us to where we are here today.
Is that tampering? I don't know the tampering rules that well. Can a coach just talk to another team's player, like just for the hell of it, and say, "Oh, like I'm just offering support"? I don't know. Seems a little weird. I don't think that could happen in the NBA. I think there'd definitely be tampering violations there. But the fact that he says that he talks to AJ Brown is quite interesting. And then he gave this quote. I don't think he said this during his press conference, because I didn't see it anywhere in the transcript of the press conference. But this is a quote I guess he gave reporters there about the possibility of looking at an AJ Brown trade. And here's what he said here. He said, quote, "I think we'll look at everything that we can possibly look at to add to our roster. And again, there's a lot of things that go into trades. There's a lot of back and forth and taking on compensation. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of opportunities for us to talk about trades, not only this week, but as we prepare and get closer to the draft." And this was a direct answer to a question about trading for AJ Brown. And this is how he answered it. He definitely didn't say that it was an impossibility, or didn't say that it was unlikely. He didn't do any of those things. So Mike Vrabel landed out there that, they're going to kick the tires. He still did coach speak. Oh, we're going to see how we can improve the roster in any way we can via trade. But, it was not what you heard from Andy Reid. Andy Reid, when it came to the Tyreek Hill thing, kind of really stiff-armed that, right? Remember we talked about that a couple weeks ago? Maybe it was last week again. These days blend in. We do this many shows in a short amount of time. But it might have been last week when I played you. I don't think I played you the sound, but I read your quote from Andy Reid, who said that essentially there was nothing going on in terms of how they were looking at newly released Tyreek Hill. Like, there's no conversations, no dialogue, nothing. Not to say that it couldn't change, or that he wouldn't change his mind, or that things may happen once we get to March. But that as of that point in time, zero was happening. That's not what Mike Vrabel was saying. Vrabel was asking about Brown. He's like, we're going to look to improve our roster potentially via trade. So it says, okay, well, it seems like this is a guy that Vrabel will want. And we see Vrabel speak so glowingly about him. That tells me that the Patriots are definitely going to be in on my AJ Brown. The question is, can they actually get him, and will it work? And do the Eagles want to give him up? How badly do they want to give him up? It feels like kind of a match made in heaven, just in terms of styles make fights when it comes to a trade. You're trading him to the AFC. I know it's not a rivalry between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots and Eagles have love for each other, but it's not a rivalry, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like trading them to Pittsburgh. You have a Patriots team that has money, a Patriots team that needs a wide receiver number one badly. And you have a head coach who coached this guy and who still seems to think very highly of him, who did not have a lot of these issues that the Eagles have had since A.J. Brown got there. Like, A.J. Brown, when he was in Tennessee, from what I remember, do not remember him at all being a malcontent at all. That's not something that I remembered of him. So him being this guy now, I'm not quite sure where this has come from. Maybe it's Jalen Hurts. Maybe it's Philadelphia. Maybe it's just, you make some money and now you become a different guy. I don't know. But I've never seen him as a guy and said, oh, this is a guy who's typically causing problems. So this A.J. Brown we've seen has been kind of new, to be honest. I would assume when you look at where the Patriots are, that this is someone they would want. I know I'm kind of dancing around, probably because we're supposed to get Zach Gelb in a minute or two. He's saying he didn't see the link that sent him. Oh, never mind, he hasn't. He went to spam. Ha! There you go. Anyway, but yeah, so A.J. Brown is a guy that he hasn't been a malcontent in Tennessee, or if he wasn't under Mike Vrabel. Vrabel was talking about how proud of him he is. And I think that is strategic too. Not to say that Vrabel isn't actually proud of him or he's some like callous guy or anything like that. But AJ strikes me as the kind of guy that does need people who are behind him, people who are working with him to show him love and show him support. There's some people that just thrive in those environments and it's important to them. Like some guys, that don't matter. You can just leave them alone in the corner and they perform and they go home. Like Kawhi Leonard strikes me as the kind of guy, you may have to, allegedly give money under the table to Uncle Dennis. But besides that, Kawhi Leonard strikes me as the kind of star, you kind of just put him on your team and then you kind of just go away. That's it. I don't get that impression from A.J. Brown that he's that kind of guy. That he's the kind of star that if you want him, you're going to need him to be not only a star and not only involving him on the team, but also you're going to need him to be someone who is deeply invested with everything you're doing. So I would assume if you're the Patriots, you may feel like it didn't work out in Philadelphia. Maybe it could work out here. The only thing I'll say, which is what I said before, as we wait for Jack Gelb. Gelb came up initially, but then dropped out. Hopefully we'll get some soon. Is that I wonder, putting a young quarterback with a receiver who so badly wants to be involved in the offense in order to be a player, and Zach Gelb's in the green room, I'll put him up in a second, a player who wants to be involved on the team and involved in the situation. I just wonder with Drake May, putting him with a guy like that, does he feel like, because he's a young player and he still is kind of growing into a leader, does he feel like he has to kind of lean on A.J. Brown more than maybe he should? Like, one of the biggest issues the Eagles had this year was that A.J. Brown was complaining about not getting the ball, and the Eagles' offense seemed to work much better when they were a more balanced attack for not getting involved. And he goes to a Patriots team that has been a balanced attack offense, though missing a number one wide receiver. Does this kind of upset the apple cart of what has made them successful? We had Gelb, and then he dropped out. Hopefully he'll come back one more time. So that's my questions for this situation. But certainly this doesn't sound like something where he's looking at potentially, not making this thing work or not looking into this. I think Mike Vrabel is, playing this smartly. I think he's giving a ton of praise to A.J. Brown, who is a guy who I think likes to see that he is loved, and he wants to show that love. He wants people to embrace that love. And I think now you're going to see potentially a marriage with A.J. Brown in New England, potentially, which is a great segue to my guest here. Great Zach Gelb joins me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights for night number 33. Zach, of course, of the Zach Gelb Show, 365 Sports, formerly of Infinity Sports Network. Zach, good to see you, my man. How you doing?
EJ, doing great. I'm not echoey, am I?
No, you sound good. You sound perfectly fine.
Okay, gotcha. The reason, because I know no listeners actually care about this. For some reason, your volume is coming through the computer and not my microphone and headphones, so I didn't know if it was going to sound echoey. But, man, how many days have you been doing this for?
We're on night 33. Night 33
Jeez,
here.
took so long to get me on. Oh, my God, I'm insulted.
Well, listen, you were a busy man. You were out in the Super Bowl. You were out doing a lot of different things, man. So I wanted to get you on as early as I could, but I'm happy to have you here, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I talked a lot about the whole team at Infinity. I miss all of you guys. And you and Stu and Sam did a phenomenal job in the afternoons on Infinity Sports Network, and you're doing your thing now with 365 Sports, doing your independent stuff. I've loved what you've been doing. And so, again, it's a thrill to have you on here, man. Zach Gelb joining me here for 40 Days, 40 Nights as we're in night 33. And we were just talking about the Patriots. So you were at Super Bowl. You are a Patriots fan. But like I said earlier, you are also a very respected sports host. So you're objective. But you were there. You were hoping the Patriots were going to win. They did not win. And a lot of the conversation coming out of the Super Bowl was that they probably need a number one receiver. Like, they got as far as they could with the receivers that they had. But when they faced a team with the secondary and the pass rush that the Seahawks had, that if you didn't have a guy to beat one-on-one, that they were going to be cooked. And that's essentially what happened. A.J. Brown is a guy that's being linked to the Patriots in part because of his relationship with Mike Vrabel. Do you see that as a potential fit for New England and bringing in A.J. Brown?
Absolutely. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze anymore for Philadelphia, but for New England, 1,000%. I think that relationship in Philly has run its course, where a split and a divorce could actually benefit both, because the Eagles don't have to deal with the headache anymore. And then he could go to New England, where he'll be without question the number one wide receiver. And also, he will not be the face of the offense, because that's going to be Drake May. But he'll be the second most important person on that offense without question. And I still believe A.J. Brown is easily a top 10 wide receiver in this league. So if I'm looking at it, the Patriots have the 31st pick in the draft. I don't know what else you'd have to give up, but it feels like it's at least a second-round pick. I would just say, if I'm Elliott Wolf, give up the 31st pick, see if anyone can top you and do better. But I don't think there will be a better offer than that. Maybe Buffalo could get in, and the Eagles are smart and use the Patriots and Bills up against one another. But I would find it hard to believe that the Pats are going to get a more influential player for this year with the 31st pick in the draft than they would in terms of just getting A.J. Brown and trading up that first-round pick.
The one thing I brought up, Zach, and I brought it up right before you came on, you may have heard some of it, I know you were coming in and out, was on paper, it seems like this is a styles makes fights kind of trade, in that it seems to make perfect sense. The Eagles get to send him to the AFC. The Patriots are a Super Bowl contender. Brown probably doesn't want to go from a Super Bowl contender to a bad team, though I don't know. He seems to also really, really want the ball, so maybe he doesn't care. But you would think that this would be a situation he would like. He has, relationship with Mike Vrabel, so it seems like everything's all a go. I have wondered about the fit because of what we've seen from Drake May, what I've seen from young quarterbacks in the past, which is sometimes if you give them a brand new shiny toy who's a little squeaky, like A.J. Brown can be, sometimes that player maybe gets outside the offense or outside what is best for the team, and maybe feels like the best thing for him to do is to just force feed whoever that new guy is, and this being A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown is going to be someone who's going to want the ball. Do you have any concern about that potentially being a problem and that being an issue where Drake May, while he had an awesome year, he was runner-up for MVP, I still feel like he's a developing quarterback. I think we saw that in the playoffs. And do you have some concern about A.J. Brown and the I hate to say character, but it's the only word I can think of, the character stuff sometimes that comes with him and his demand for wanting the ball so much?
No, Jeff Garcia said it to me at the Super Bowl. He goes, all wide receivers are divas. And Drew Bledsoe said it as well. So it's not a surprise that there's a receiver that wants the football more, and you have a loaded offense in Philadelphia with Saquon, with Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert. And I think it's a little bit more than just him wanting the ball, too. I think he has a lot of issues with the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. The Patriots, this is why this year was so unbelievable. The line was fine. Like, it was not great, but it was fine. And then once the Will Campbell injury happened, that did change. And I think Will Campbell will be a fine left tackle in this league. Maybe one day they have to move him to left guard. What you saw in the playoffs was clearly a injured Will Campbell playing. But you look at the weapons or the lack of them on this team. Like, who's there? Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, and you don't even know how many of these guys are going to be back. Stephon Diggs, who even knows if he's going to be allowed to play football this year. So Drake May, and this is why I have no concern about it, and this is why I loved him after his rookie year. And quite frankly, when the Patriots drafted him, I was optimistic, but I had some skepticism because I didn't love what I saw in his final season at UNC. But this is a guy in his rookie year and then his second year, he did more with less. So if you make something that makes it easier, and this guy, you bring in something that makes it easier, and this guy was second in the MVP, and quite frankly, I thought should have won it over Stafford in terms of the definition of most valuable player. You could bring in someone that could ease up the game for Drake May. I think he would play even better. Like, look at Josh Allen when he got Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen went from a good quarterback to a superstar quarterback. Even Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, he gets A.J. Brown. They go to 2 Super Bowls. They win 2 Super Bowls. So I'm all about putting the quarterback in a position to succeed. And you look at a situation like Baltimore, sure. Lamar Jackson has won 2 MVPs. Lamar Jackson is a top 4 quarterback in the sport. He's a tremendous football player. I never felt as if they really got him the number 1 guy. And there's a reason when they go up against Buffalo, they lose. There's a reason why they go up against Kansas City, they lose. Like, Zay Flowers is a good player, but I think you need a superstar wide receiver for your young quarterback to get the most out of.
Zach Gelb joining me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. That's why I've actually mentioned Baltimore and Buffalo, as I thought slightly better fits, because those guys are a little more veteran. They could kind of handle A.J. Brown a little bit, but certainly makes a lot of sense why you like to fit for Brown going to the Pats. Let's go over the team that won the Super Bowl in the Seahawks. I took some heat on this from my audience, from the people in the comment section. And what I thought was kind of a throwaway line when I was like, Sam Darnold, I understood he didn't play great in the Super Bowl, but he didn't turn the ball over, which is what really they need to do in order to win that game. I made the case that I think Sam Darnold at this point is probably a top 10 quarterback, and then I got some heat saying, whoa, you can't go that far. And I had to actually come up with a list of guys the next show, because luckily I do 2 shows, so I can then come up, all right, later tonight, I'll give you my list since you guys are so angry. And I think he landed somewhere around 7 or 8. Do you think Sam Darnold at this point, now that he is a champion, is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
He's in the conversation. There's no doubt about it. Off the top of my head, top 10 seems a little bit rich. But
really?
When you go through it, AFC East, okay, I would personally put Josh Allen in front of him. That's not crazy. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, that would be 2 and 3 in the AFC North. The AFC South, not after how the season ended for C.J. Stroud. Daniel Jones, no. Trevor Lawrence, no. AFC West, Mahomes, Herbert, I would still say is better than Arnold. And then if you get into the NFC East, I still think you have to go Jalen Hurts. I personally would probably rather have Dak Prescott over Sam Darnold. Daniels got hurt, so I can't put him in there after 1 year, and it was a tremendous season. In the NFC North, I'm at 7 right now, right?
Yes, you're at 7.
Goff won a Darnold won a Super Bowl. Goff didn't. I could see you making the case for Goff, but I won't right now. Love, no. J.J. McCarthy, obviously no. Imagine if I said yes there. That'd be and Caleb. Ooh. Caleb, I got to see another year, but Caleb's close.
Okay.
Like Caleb and Drake May, I think, are better than Sam Darnold, but I got to see it more for than just one season. And then we get to the NFC West. Stafford, yes.
Yep. That gives you 8.
Anyone else?
I mean, you got Purdy. No, I would think no.
Even if I put Purdy, that's 9, and then he's 10.
Yeah.
So he's a top 10 quarterback.
Wow, and you had some guys that I did not have ahead of him. I had ahead of so I had Herbert. I don't know if he was in my top 10. I'll be honest. I don't think Herbert was in my top 10, and I don't think Dak was either. Dak might have been 10 if he was in there.
Yeah, and those are fair to debate. I'll defend Herbert a little bit. He was not good in the playoffs, but this year playing with basically one arm and missing both his offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Like I don't like. I wouldn't have voted him for the MVP like that one dope did. But I made a prediction earlier today. This was on 560 WQAM. I do a weekly spot with them, and we were talking about Mike McDaniel. And I said, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I'll just throw it out there. You get both your you get your left tackle and your right tackle back, in Joe Alt and then Rashawn Slater. You get Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator. Jim Harbaugh as your head coach. You have Vlad McConkey. They're probably going to add another wide receiver in there. I'm going to throw money down on Justin Herbert to win the MVP this year.
It makes sense. I mean, but you've seen the memes probably as well. Like he is if man. Like it's if these things go right for him, there's no reason why he shouldn't be. I think Mike McDaniel. That was probably my favorite hire of the offseason because to me it spoke to growth from Jim Harbaugh. Because I can't like besides the fact that they both do like running the football, I think that's something that we kind of forget about Mike McDaniel. That's a big part of his whole shtick. But the fact that he was able to get somebody who's so advanced offensively when Harbaugh is more of the 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of coach showed me that he is willing to do whatever it takes to support his quarterback, and it doesn't mean playing hardball ball. It's just playing Chargers football, and I thought that was a great hire. So I'm excited for the Chargers this year. They have like $100 million in cap space, something crazy. So they're going to have a ton of money to spend. They're going to be able to improve the wide receiver core. They will get those tackles back, but those tackles got to stay healthy, man. Like Rashawn Slater, it seems like he's a walking injury. I didn't think Alt was an injury risk, but now he's had serious injuries now too. If they're healthy, they may be the best pair of tackles any team has in the league, but getting those guys healthy is going to be super important.
Well, put it this way. They had everything go wrong for them possible this year. And I'm not sitting here saying, go buy your Super Bowl tickets for the Chargers. I'm not going that far. And they lose Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator. But they had everything go wrong, and they were still a wild card team. Like, they had injuries at the running back position. Najee Harris was out. Omarion Hampton had to miss some time too. So anything that could go wrong, even the quarterback with one arm, it did go wrong for the Chargers this year. That the AFC, it's weird. I don't know if the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl. And you look at the NFC, like the Seahawks are legit. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl. The Niners are legit. The Eagles are legit. I would assume that the Lions do bounce back this year. The Bears, can they take that next step? No one in the NFC South, I think, is anywhere close to winning the Super Bowl. But you look at the AFC, now the Chiefs in this next chapter, I'm never going to write off Mahomes. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, we all know they're great quarterbacks. The question is, can they go win the big one? So the Broncos and the Patriots, they could have success, but can they go win the big one? The AFC is up for grabs, as we saw this year, which played a part in why the Patriots, had a road to get to the Super Bowl. And I just wonder, with the teams that came up this year and now the teams that fell, how are they going to bounce back up to make this thing interesting? Because you had a postseason without Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. if you'd have told me that before the start of the season, whether it was in the morning portion of this program or the evening part of this program, I'd be saying like, EJ, like what are you doing, in the morning or at the night that maybe you shouldn't be doing?
Zach Gelb joining me live here, 48 40 Nights. Keeping it PG, man. All things above board here at the Stewart household as we do these 2 shows per night. I'm coming down to the wire here. Basically, one more full week left after this one. I do want to ask you, yeah. Sorry, what's that?
Is guest 40 like some crazy guest? Whoever on the nightcap of the 40th show, do you go out with a big bang?
There's no plan yet for what I do for night 40. None. Like, all I know is that a friend asked me, can I hang out that night? I say I cannot because I have a night 40 to do. So therefore I've not, and to my credit, I have not missed one day. I know I'm knocking on wood because that means I'll probably be sick tomorrow, right? I don't do weekends. So it's only weekdays. But every weekday, Monday through Friday, I've not missed a show. Have I been late? Yes. One, because I got sick and still came back and did the show. Have I been late? Yes. Have there been issues where I've lost power? Yes. But I've always been here, and I've come back if I'm able to come back to do a show if I get knocked out of power, which happened earlier this morning. My internet went out for 5 or 10 minutes, so we had a little 20-minute delay. But I've been at it, man. But no obvious plans for 40. You have some thoughts and some ideas, but nothing concrete just yet.
Well, I have a question, and you know me,
Yeah.
I always look out for the best interest of you.
Okay.
Your fiance's probably counted down the days until this is over, so she could, have some dinner with you tonight or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah. I think she loves that I'm doing this because of what it means for what I'm trying to accomplish in the career stuff. I don't think she loves it. Does she love the show? Does she love that I do this every day? No, for sure. There's definitely hey, remember to do X, Y, and Z. That's also important besides trying to do 2 shows per day. So, but she's been super supportive. But yeah, it's of course, it's, nights out at dinner. It's like once that Friday show ends, it's like, all right, now I got him for 2 days, especially now there's no football. When this football season ended, she was like, oh my God, now I actually get to see him now. Because the thing was, when it was the playoffs, which is why I think this was a fun time to do it, because I was basically doing it right in the middle of the NFL playoffs. So it was like, not only were those days I'm locked into doing these shows, the Sunday and Saturday football games, Miami was in the playoffs, so I had that going for me too. So she probably, you would think, oh, you're gonna have some time off. That means I'll see you a lot more. She sees me a lot more only because I'm in the house, not necessarily because I'm actually available to be as available as I want to be. So I know she can't wait for this to end. And I'll be honest, I'm also counting down those days too, because this is a grind, no question.
Well, and also, let's just call it real. The SO see us a lot more these days because we all got laid off. So
Exactly.
You got a lot more free time.
Yeah, you got a lot more free time. And again, for someone who's hoping that I live with them and they're my fiance and they'll be my wife in a couple of months, it's like, all right, this is nice. Where's the full-time job coming? Like, what are you applying to jobs? Are you doing it? I'm like, yeah, that's basically my world is this and LinkedIn.com. That's my world for pretty much the last 2 months. But no, she's been the best and she's been supportive. But yeah, all of us have seen a lot more of our significant others in the household, and it's a little hit or miss. I told the story I forgot who it was. I told the story a couple of days ago. It may have just been to the audience. Like, I don't know how I've seen you work, and you're kind of like me prior to shows. Like, you're really focused. You don't really talk too much. Like, some guys, like, they'll just run around and just talk to anybody and then just jump on the mic and then just go, and they're awesome. That's not me, and that's when I've worked with you or I've seen you, that's kind of not you too. You're also kind of locked in prior to going on to a show, unless you want to ask your producer X, Y, and Z. So I'm pretty intense. I'm pretty intense when I'm producing. I'm intense when I'm hosting. I don't know what happened, but she asked me about something. And, Lita was barking. My dog was barking. And I think I, said something. I kind of was like, yo, you got to, do something. And she was like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I can't have a dog bark when I'm about to start a show. And she just walked out. She's like, you're a lunatic, and just closed the door. And then once you do your show, and you're like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have flew with the handle like that. That was not. I know she's not gonna allow Lita to just bark nonstop. But you're in that zone. That zone is not a zone that she sees. She doesn't see grinding, ready to do a show. EJ, that's someone that only WFAN sees and Odyssey sees. So she has seen that a little bit. Which is all right. Maybe tread a little lightly before he's getting ready to go live, because he takes it very seriously.
Yeah, my girlfriend, when the Super Bowl ended, she was like, "Oh, finally, football is over." And I'm like, "Oh, finally, football is over. We got the combine in a few weeks. We got March Madness starting up as well."
Yeah.
And I go, "Do you remember the personal sacrifices I made during this football? Like, I went to the bar with your friends to watch the game. I've gone to people's houses. I go usually in football season, and I do a bunch of games for Compass, so I'm working, but." When I had those days where I could just watch football and have to do it for the job and then talk about it, I'm usually just sitting on the couch. I go, the fact that I let you sit there with me or go somewhere to see your friends to watch the game, I thought I should have got more brownie points for it. But I guess that's not speaking logical, and it was just we still have to watch football.
No, and Andrea, she was like, because I like to pick her on her, so I'll send her the memes of some of these videos of people like, oh, football's over, now you get your husband back or get your significant other back. And she's like, well, you love basketball. And I know that the Knicks season now coming down to the wire, and you're going to be watching March Madness. So now even she knows, she's like, this is fool's gold. This is not real. Because now weeknights are going to be only locked on the Knicks, and the Knicks will have big games on that Saturday night, which they've had, it seems like almost every weekend now. Their ABC loves to put them on. So she's like, I know this is fake. This isn't real. Like, maybe it's not a full day of football, but there will be hours of the day that I don't have you, even on the weekend.
But football is different because each and every NFL and college game matters. Miami loses one or two games, right? You had to sweat out making the college football playoff. I was actually surprised that the committee did the right thing. You're a Jet fan, so I know you haven't had football matter in a while. But
I'm a Miami fan. Football hasn't mattered on that side either, so it mattered in a big way. I was very excited.
Yeah, so football, every game matters. Like basketball, I see these guys losing their mind. And trust me, I was at the Knicks-Pistons game. The effort was pathetic. Bridges had no interest in the game that night. I thought there was a disconnect with the players and the coaching staff. Detroit just bullied them, and Cade Cunningham was phenomenal. And, yeah, it wasn't a fun game to be at. It wasn't a good effort. But am I going to lose my mind when 90% of the league doesn't give a rat's ass about the regular season, and this dopey commissioner, Spineless Silver, creates a format where we have to have a play-in tournament after 82 regular season games just to figure out who the top 8 teams in the East are going to be, who the top 8 teams in the West are going to be. So basketball, the regular season product, is totally just watered down and totally just lazy, where it is tough for me as a fan to really have any bold, big takes on what goes on in the NBA regular season, because we're in the postseason. They actually do this thing called defense, and the players try harder, and they actually want to play, which you don't always see in the regular season.
That all makes sense, Zach, but New Yorkers. That's the one thing that I actually loved about being a Knicks fan, is that feel that other NBA fans have, where it's like, oh, the regular season doesn't matter, and we're just going game to game. That's not how Knicks fans feel. Knicks fans they're ready to fire coaches, trade guys after any loss, especially a losing streak and stuff. So that's one thing that is sometimes been tough for me as a Knicks fan, because I'm a NBA super fan. So I'm not in a shell or in like a foxhole where I don't understand the people that are complaining. But it has been tough because Tom Thibodeau was my team's coach for 4 or 5 years. He's also a lunatic. He takes every game seriously. And the Knicks themselves typically kind of took every game seriously. And they played pretty well, and most of the time the effort was good. So, I'm not watching a product, that is, so different than, what I grew up on. It seems to be the same. The Knicks go, most of the time they win against a team that maybe their effort's not good, but I don't care. The Knicks won. So, I have found it hard for me to really actually relate to some of that with that. Though I do think this year has been a shift for the Knicks, where I've said that this is a season that's all about the postseason. They fired their last coach in part because they didn't think the postseason success was good enough, and perhaps that is seeped into the players' mindset as well. You've been at a lot of Knicks games, and you just mentioned the Knicks, so I want to ask you about the NBA season and the Knicks in a second, but just overall in the NBA season, one of the things we've talked a ton about is tanking, and you mentioned the regular season being a problem and what's the fix. I have various different theories and ideas of how I think the NBA can quote-unquote be fixed. But I'm curious what you think that in terms of, should the draft be abolished? Should they change the lottery? Do you have any thoughts on how to make the regular season have more jazz? Or is it just going to be is what it is, and we're just going to wait till the playoffs in order for people to really get involved and into the NBA season?
Yeah, get rid of the commissioner. That would be my fix. This commissioner has zero control of his league. it's the one league in professional sports where the players actually rule the league. And the commissioner, when he got in and had the Donald Sterling situation, it was the easiest decision to make. Yes, you get Donald Sterling out of the league, you kick him out of the league. Since then, what has he done? And people thought I was a hater on this, and now I get so many messages. Oh, you've been crushing Silver for 4 or 5 years. Now we're finally seeing what you do. When you run a league where you tell me the offseason is more important than the regular season, and that's how you basically run your league, and you have 3 things: postseason, offseason, regular season, and the regular season is last on the pecking order, what do you expect's gonna happen? So I'm not in favor of eliminating the draft. Quite frankly, I don't even love the draft lottery. Yeah, it's something to tune in and you watch. When people go in the NFL, oh, the NFL needs a draft lottery. No, they don't. But this commissioner is a major problem. He has been for a long time. And the players, and I'm all for player empowerment and all that, but the players have too much power here. Players running the league is not a good thing. And the owners in the NBA, or excuse me, we call them governors, right? That's been what's happened for a few years. It's just they don't really have control over their league. And it's like when I was in Philly, the commissioner jumped in and basically pushed out Sam Hinkie for this tanking stuff. But he turns his eye every other way. So it is such a problem right now. I don't think this commissioner has a backbone and is equipped enough to fix it.
You'll probably enjoy this. And by the way, anybody who's listened to me, whether it's been on 40 Days, 40 Nights, on Maggie and Perloff, or on WFAN, or on New Generation Sports Talk, knows that I've crushed Adam Silver up, left, right, and center a zillion times. So I have no disagreement with anything Zach said there. You'll enjoy this joke, though, because I saw someone had a joke being like, hey, Adam Silver, how do we solve this problem? And every answer was, put him in a tournament. Like, every single answer was, how do you solve tanking? Make a tournament. Well, okay, well, how do we solve players with injury load management? Put them in a tournament. Like, it seems like he loves the European soccer model of tournaments and in bringing that aspect of the sport. And it doesn't seem like he has really a lot of new or interesting ideas. And my problem with him has always been, I just think he's always been a day late and a dollar short. People have complained about a lot of these different things when it comes to the issues with the injury load management, and it gets so bad that you say, well, now I don't know, let's cap the thing at 65 games. So now only 65 games you get MVPs. Well, now because the regular season though is so watered down because you took so long to actually address it, now players are like, whatever, I don't care if I win the MVP. I don't care. I still need to get this time off. Or the teams will say, we don't care if you win the awards. We need you to take the time off to get right. It seems like every single step where I'm like, there's things you can do to radically change this sport. I think you're right. I didn't really think of it that way because I have all these ideas, but do I have confidence that Adam Silver is going to be the one to actually be progressive enough to actually be aggressive to make those changes? I don't think so. Like, one of my things I kept saying is I feel like the NBA regular season should no longer be a linear season where it's your overall record at the end determines who makes all of the playoff spots. It could be some of them, but I don't think it should be all of them. My thing is make it to where this guy loves tournaments so much, put a tournament in the middle of the season that 2 playoff spots are open. You want to have a certain situation, okay, in this stretch of the season is the most important stretch of the season where wins are 1.5 instead of 1. Like, there's things you can do to make this very interesting where you could have important games in December, important games in February, important games in January if you are aggressive enough in approaching this. But it seems like he seems like he doesn't really, he doesn't have the stomach for it. And I think it's because the players have a lot of power there. Yeah.
Think about this. In the offseason, how many of these contracts do we see players get that aren't starters, that we go, oh, my God, they're getting paid that much money? The athletes get paid so much money. So the idea that we need to do a little participation kind of in-season tournament and then give out more money to get these players to actually have a desire to play, it's bonkers to me as a real human being that isn't making $20 million, $5 million, even $1 million a year. Like, you need the carrot to be dangled in front of you in order for you to live up to your contract. The real answer here is to put and I know this will never happen, shut the regular season to 65 games.
Right.
Curtail it. Now, that will never happen because the owners will never start hating money. and they want 82 regular season games with TV and dollars and concession stands and sales and all that stuff. But if you only had 65 games, I think you'd have a better regular season product, but there's a 0% chance they'll ever do that.
Yeah, there's no chance that happens. I agree. And I saw Bill Simmons making the case that, like, he thinks that if, again, he maybe also has some doubts about Adam Silver. He's saying a smart commissioner and a savvy commissioner would find ways to make up the money that the owners would lose. But I just think it's dead on arrival because, again, I don't have much faith in the commissioner. I totally agree with you with that. Again, I'm saying if you can't shorten the season, just make things at different dates in the regular season matter. Like overall record, it's unfortunate we've gotten to this point, but this is where we're at. Overall record shouldn't mean as much as we think it means. We should just make different points of the season parts where it actually matters. Because we know the players, in terms of how they approach it, they're all just getting ready for April and May. So don't allow March to essentially be the only part of the NBA season that really has any impact.
You know, I'll just ask you this question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have the answer, and it's fine if you don't. Outside of the Donald Sterling situation, where it was so easy, we could have put myself in charge of that, and I could have had the same outcome. What has really Adam Silver done for the NBA?
He'll probably point to a massive TV deal, which doesn't do anything for me. But he will point to a record TV deal where a league that apparently, again, is, I think some of the NBA dying stuff is overblown, but a league that is quote-unquote dying just got, $75 billion, whether they got from these different companies. Like, he'll say, I got you guys all of this money. So we can complain about all the other things, complain about style of play. I've said, again, there's things I would do on the court. I would eliminate the corner three. I would be aggressive. Like, people that are complaining about how basketball is played, there are things you can do to make this more like the sport they want. But he doesn't seem to have any interest in that. But I think, to me, that's the main thing I would say, is that he has got these guys a lot of money, and got the owners a lot of money.
My answer, and this is not me giving a take one way or another, but obviously when kneeling in the NFL and the national anthem was such a big thing, it never infiltrated into the NBA. And I remember there was a lot of times where people thought there was going to be protests during the national anthem during the NBA. And Silver, I don't know what he said, but something happened behind the scenes, because it was crazy to me how that was such a big issue in the NFL, but it never happened in the NBA. Now, you may hear that and you may say, that was good, that was bad. Like, it just depends how you view it. But how that was such a big issue in the NFL, I have to give him credit, even though I don't know what I'm really giving him credit for. But in the NBA, that never became like this crazy issue where it did happen in the NFL, where once again, I think players should have the right to, if they want to stand for the national anthem, it's this country, do so. If you don't, you don't need to do so. But I thought for sure that would have been an issue in the NBA. And I just remember at the time talking about it, the commissioner, it felt like he had conversations with people behind the scenes, and that never really became a huge talking point in the NBA, at least how I remember it.
I think,
That's something that's the second thing I'm giving him credit for. It was getting rid of a racist owner and then figuring out the national anthem. Like, nothing really that helps the game at the end of the day and making it a better watchable product.
Yeah, and I mentioned money, right? Also doesn't make it a more watchable product. And I would say, and if I had a second thing, it would just be everything involved in the NBA bubble. Because if you remember, I think the reason why it wasn't as much an issue was the players wanted to be very vocal about their feelings about what was happening with social injustice. And what did they do? They were allowed to put social justice messages on their jerseys. They were allowed to have social justice messages on the court. And were there people that complained about it? Sure, because there's always going to be people complaining about stuff like that. But it didn't become about the anthem anymore. Just the entire game kind of had messages of go out and vote. End racism, all those different things were kind of part of the entire presentation of the NBA. And I think it was baked in a way that maybe wasn't quite as jarring as for the NFL. It really was only just the national anthem. So it really becomes only a conversation about the flag, the military, and it's sometimes beyond even what we're talking about, which was racism and criminal justice reform and things like that. So I think they did that a good job with that. And just having the bubble happen, the fact that they were able to play that season also was a big win for him. But not many wins, I'll be real.
The way that you worded it was a lot better than I did. He took the flag issue out of the league and just found other ways where I don't know if it was more effective or not in getting the overall message heard, but he found other ways to get the messages that were important to the players out there without making it, you love this country or hate this country,
right,
based off a minute during a national anthem.
That's right. Zach Gelb joining me live here for 40 days and 40 nights on the NBA season. Like, how do you see it shaking out? I mean, again, sometimes it can be tricky. I've been saying pretty much since the beginning, I've had the Knicks in the finals. I've had them facing the Denver Nuggets. That's kind of where I've been. I'll stay there because I haven't seen anything that's going to make me run off and be super scared of this yet. But certainly, there are some teams that have stepped up and have been a big force in the season. How do you see the East and West shaking out in terms of the teams you like coming out of each conference?
Yeah, I would say the Spurs and also the Thunder. It's kind of like how we just saw in the NFL where it was the Rams and it was the Seahawks. I think those are the two best teams. Personally, since we just saw the Thunder and Wembanyama is amazing, I would like to see the Spurs. That was not me on CBS Sports Radio that called him Wembasyama, and I'm wondering when that whole trip is going to ever happen.
We had Perloff on here. We had Perloff on here, and he said that that's something that he still plans to do at some point in time. By the way, you want to hear Wembasyama?
Wembasyama?
Yeah, Wembasyama. There we go.
Wembasyama?
In the East, I think the East is pretty much like the AFC too, where it wouldn't surprise me who gets there. I was really impressed seeing the Pistons up close and personal, but I'm kind of with you. The idea that people are already counting the Knicks out, and they got to improve their defense. There's no question. Cat, I know what he is. He's a good number two. Is he up and down? There's no doubt about it. But Bridges and OG are really going to decide this thing. Where you saw it last night, where they need both of those guys to be competent bodies. It can't just be one or the other. And up against the Pistons, OG was horrible. It was rough to watch, and at times, Mikal Bridges, he just looked disinterested. So, the Knicks, this is why I'm not freaking out about the Knicks. I'm not loving what I'm seeing, obviously, but their season, and there's teams in sports that this happens to. Their season, yes, and it's ironic me saying this after I just devalued the regular season in the NBA, but the Knicks' regular season is irrelevant. This is all about the postseason because what they did at the end of the season, where I think they recognize, remember, Leon Rose knows Tom Thibodeau better than anybody. I think they realize, even though it was a wildly successful season for the Knicks, Tibbs maxed out. I don't think Bridges loved Thibodeau. That's pretty obvious. And the players ultimately got their way, and they thought that was the farthest Tom Thibodeau was going to be able to go. And you bring in a Mike Brown, who's a more player-friendly coach. But they got to patch up that defense, and we'll see if they can flick that switch once the postseason does come here because they have the players to do it.
Zach Gelb joining me live here for 40 days and 40 nights on night 33 here. Yeah, Bridges, I'm kind of done with him. Like, if they don't get to wherever they want to go, he's the first guy I'm getting out of here. In some ways, it's almost like when you watch like a whodunit movie or something where there's a red herring of who the real villain is. I feel like for everyone, Karl Towns is the red herring for this Knicks season. Whereas I blame Karl Towns, but I'm like, I think we actually need to be looking at Bridges. Because there's too many games like last night where there are going to be games where Brunson's going to be off. Or games where, Cat can't get involved the way you want him to. And like Bridges, for the money he's making, for the picks you gave up, for what you think he would be. This guy was the number one option for the Nets. He's supposed to be able to, okay, when that happens, I can step in and immediately get you a 25-point game if you need to. And last night, he's floating around. He's taking these stupid jump shots. Like, I just had enough. There's too many games where they need him to step up, and I haven't seen it from him. I know what he brings defensively. I know why he compliments Brunson because he can guard point guards. But I would look for another option if he doesn't get it done in the playoffs. You're right. This is a playoff team in terms of like everything that, in terms of evaluating them, is about the postseason. And Bridges did come up big in the postseason in many spots, but he better show up, man. Yeah, he better show up because there's too many nights where the Knicks could have won that game last night against the Cavs because the Cavs didn't shoot the ball that well. OG's in with the toe, so I'm kind of giving him a pass. He had that toe avulsion that's apparently very painful. Mm-hmm. He's still trying to work his way back from that. So he hasn't played well in the last three games.
Like, that's what I don't get with how many times they rest these guys in the NBA. And when he was playing up against the Pistons game I was at, I turned to my buddy and I go, we know OG's banged up, but why is he even get the guy healthy and get him right now, because in a month or two, that's really when your season starts. So I don't understand that. And you're right, he has looked sluggish ever since coming back from the break, and it's because of that injury that he's dealing with. So I understand giving him a pass. I just hope he doesn't do any further damage to it, honestly.
No, it definitely makes sense. I definitely want to ask you quickly about some college football and particularly Colorado. Like, you have been someone who has gotten to talk to Deion Sanders a bunch. You've got a good pulse on what's happening with the Colorado program. So I found it very interesting that we had, former Buffs legend, former Patriots Super Bowl champion Christian Fourier on your show. We played the sound a couple weeks ago where he blasted Deion Sanders. Christian Fourier is a guy who had he has one of his sons that played obviously for Deion Sanders before transferring to Delaware. And so there's that aspect of it. But he basically said that he thinks Deion's not a good coach. He thinks that a lot of things he's seen behind the scenes would leave him concerned. It should leave a lot of people concerned about where things stand at Colorado, and that alums are kind of afraid to talk about the fact that there's issues with Colorado. How do you feel about where Prime is at entering in year 4? Do you feel like he can get some of that magic back that we saw in year 2 where they won 9 games and Travis Hunter won the Heisman? Or do you see this as a situation maybe we've kind of seen the peak, and now whatever Colorado is beyond that is going to be a lesser version?
I think it's not going to get any better than the second year. And it pains me to say this because when he was at Jackson State and it was Auburn that was open, I said, why not go hire Coach Prime? And they ended up, I think they brought in Hugh Freeze, if memory serves me right. So I've always been a proponent of seeing Coach Prime coach in big-level college football. And in year 1, they were the epicenter for the first 3 weeks of the college football season, where they beat Nebraska, they beat TCU. They had the whole sunglasses incident with Jay Norvell, who I think was at Colorado State, which was one of the more bizarre things. I remember showing up to the studio with sunglasses and be like, I'm standing with in solidarity with Coach Prime. I wear my sunglasses and a hat on indoors as well, and I don't have an issue with it. But then after that, they won 1 game down the stretch, and then in year number 2, the combination of Shedeur and Travis Hunter, I thought Ashton Genty should have won the Heisman, but Travis Hunter ends up winning the Heisman. They also go on to win 9 games. They didn't lose that game to Kansas. They may have won the Big 12, and if they won the Big 12, they would have been in, the college football playoff.
Yep.
But last year, without Shedeur, without Travis Hunter, that team had some moments, but they looked lost. You see some of the players that have now left the program, the big offensive lineman, Jordan Seaton. I looked at that schedule the other day. I truly don't see how they get to 6 wins to make a bowl game. Like, if I was the most optimistic person in the world and I want to see Coach Prime succeed, I only had 5 wins. Now, maybe Juju Lewis in year number 2 is sensational, and he goes on out there and he's really good, and he turns this program back in the direction that was headed in year number 2. But I give Prime a little bit of a pass last year just because of the health. So I wonder how that's going to be now, being able to be fully present there. But I have a tough time seeing this team get into 6. If they get to 6 wins this year, I'll give Coach Prime a standing ovation and say it's a job well done, and I'll be happy to do so.
Yeah, that's the thing I've thought about with Coach Prime has been the health stuff, because that season last year was kind of chaotic. Like, the way it kind of went down, they had games where it seemed like they just laid down, but you had your head coach who was basically MIA for an extended amount of time because he was dealing with bladder cancer. And, hopefully Coach Prime is doing a lot better at this point in time. But if he is in a much better situation where he can be more involved with the team, you would hope that maybe whatever you lost in terms of the talent that left the building, you maybe gain with having your head coach there to instill whatever culture he's trying to instill. Again, Juju Lewis is going to be their quarterback. He is somebody that was a big-time recruit. So we'll see what happens. I'm someone who's, because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan, I'm very invested in the recruiting trail, very invested in the transfer trail. Colorado's recruiting has been okay. Transfer portal has been better, probably. But usually, you want to see who the best teams are, unless you're talking about Indiana. You can kind of go to where the recruiting stars are, and usually those are the best rosters. Can Colorado make that leap in the Big 12? It's going to be tough. I agree.
How about your coach, by the way? Did you see the stuff at the Spurrier event?
So, can you explain this to me? Because I saw it briefly, but the one thing about doing 40 days and 40 nights is like my time for like what could be a story and what not. Like I have to be very quick with it because I have limited time. So like I saw something, I was like, I don't got time to watch this. I just moved on. What happened with Cristobal at the Spurrier event? Because I did see something about this.
So I think what people forget the context of it. If you just see it out of context, you're like, wow, look at the cojones on Mario Cristobal. Cristobal and Kirby Smart were on the same coaching staff for years at Alabama. So I'm assuming they have a warm and friendly relationship. But they're at this event with Steve Spurrier. I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's like an award ceremony or something like that. And they were playing, highlights from the Miami season, and Mario Cristobal's there. And they do this Carson Beck highlight, and he's like, oh, like that's what Carson Beck looks like with real coaching. And then he said, oh, the reason why we have NIL is because Kirby Smart paid his players for all those years. And if you didn't know that the two knew each other, it felt very uncomfortable. I have not seen the response by Kirby Smart because I think Kirby Smart had some time to stand up and say a few things, but it looked as if Mario Cristobal was at Gotham Comedy Club in the city, and he was acing it. But I think the easy clapback, if I'm Kirby, I would say, hey, Mario, talk to me when you have a national championship ring as a head coach, and then when you get one, tell me when you get two, and then we could be on the same playing field. So it was jovial. When I was on QAM today, Jim Larinaga was on right before me, and he was talking about it. So it has clearly made the rounds in the college community.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Mario's feeling himself because before the college football playoff, I think that I think I said it, and I wasn't alone. I was like, if he doesn't get there next year, fire him. Like I'm done. I'm done. The fact that they blew those games in the middle of the season and almost risked missing the playoff with the roster that they had, it was unacceptable. And a lot of things you heard from the Oregon fans and the people who have said that Mario Cristobal was the guy who could recruit but couldn't win, it felt like it was coming to fruition at Miami. So I think now that he put a lot of that to bed with the phenomenal coaching job he did, there's no question you can deny what he did, getting that team to play the way they did during the playoff. And they gave Indiana, outside of Ohio State, they gave Indiana their best game. It was kind of surprising when you consider how good Indiana was, like how well Miami comported themselves in that game and had a chance to win on the last drive.
Yeah, and Carson Beck unfortunately reverted into the Carson Beck, which is why Georgia moved off of him with that interception. I hate to bring it back up, but it was a god-awful interception. I will say this, though. I love me some Darian Mensah at Tulane, at Duke. He's better than Carson Beck. I'm not going to say he's better than Cam Ward, but that's my pick right now as I sit here on the 25th day of February in the year of 2026. And I've said this before, so it's been my pick now for like 2 weeks. But my early Heisman pick this year would be Darian Mensah. I think he's going to kill it at Miami.
Well, they brought his one of his favorite receivers from Duke over, who's his 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to have Malachi Toney. Mark Fletcher is back in the backfield. The Miami offense that really kind of took a step back this year. They were an explosive offense 2 years ago with Cam Ward. They kind of became more of a defensive first team this past season. I think you see more of what you saw from Cam Ward 2 years ago in Darian Mensah. I think he's definitely a good pick potentially for the Heisman this year.
What do you think of Bain in the NFL draft? Because you have Reese, you got David Bailey, who I like a lot, and Bain. Those are the three guys that everyone's talking about, outside of Caleb Downs, who's the safety. When you talk about guys getting to the quarterback, those are the three names. And in a lot of these mock drafts now, I see Bain going at like the 10th or 11th pick, and I'm saying to myself, if this guy falls to 10th or 11th, oh boy, talk about tremendous value.
I take him at 2. I'm a Jets fan, and I've said this, and I would take him at 2. David Bailey is also a monster, and you can't. I think with some of these defenders, you land on one of them, you'll be fine.
He was overshadowed because you had Rodriguez there, and the Rodriguez story is great, unbelievable player, right? Even they're putting him on offense. Yeah, the mustache and the whole story with his wife and all that.
Yeah,
it's a tremendous story, and his brother. But when so much love goes to that player, that's why I have a Heisman vote. I didn't vote Rodriguez because I said I feel like Bailey is the better player, and some people did vote Bailey. So I kind of negated the 2 out in the 3 votes that I have. That you can.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that Bain is a monster. Now, I think the question has been, does he have short arms? I don't know, man. Like, I guess we'll learn today or tomorrow whenever they measure him what his actual arm length is. I know if you're less than 32 inches, typically that's bad news for pass rushers. What I've seen is his natural strength has made up for whatever issues you have with his long arms or short arms in that sense. I don't know. I would take him at 2. And one of the reasons why I love Bain is because, and it's particularly to the Jets, is I think anybody that's going to the Jets, you need to be okay with losing a lot early on and being in a locker room in a situation that is in chaos and want to be the change agent. Because that's what Ruben Bain was when he went to Miami. This is a guy that could have went to any school in the country. He was a top 50 recruit. And he decided to stay home because playing at the U was important and putting the U on was important to him, more so than playing at whatever the best school, the biggest school he could have went to. And he sat through some nonsense. The first 2 years of him at Miami the first year was chaotic, basically. And then last year you have the issues where he gets hurt, and then he's missing most of the season. He tries to come back, but he's playing on basically a torn hamstring. I've seen this guy come into a locker room and change an entire defense and change an entire team. So I can't speak to what, Bailey, obviously, Texas Tech wasn't much either. A lot of these guys are playing on teams, but in terms of a guy who was on a team that was losing a lot and was able to turn them into a contender, I've seen Bain be the change agent for that, which is why I think for a lot of these top teams, he'd be a great fit. But I think particularly for the Jets situation, because of how chaotic it is there, I don't think he's going to walk in there and be stunned to see these guys will act like professionals. I think he'll be one of the change agents to hopefully get them in the right direction.
I do think the Jets will end up going with the pass rusher, but I think once Mendoza goes 1, the best player available is going to be Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State, who before Ohio State was at Alabama. I know some people are going to say, oh, safety's too early to take it 2. Well, people were telling me, oh, you couldn't take Kyle Hamilton so early. He fell to 14. And does anyone in Baltimore sit there and go, man, it's too early to take a safety? No, if you go back to that draft, and I haven't done it yet, I'm sure there's probably more than a handful of players that you would probably, if you gave the opportunity to those teams, say, okay, you get Kyle Hamilton instead of that player that you drafted, they'd probably go Kyle Hamilton over those players.
Can I give you I said this on the fan, I said this on the show, I'm telling everybody this. Can I give you my draft crush right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Makai Lemon. I love this guy.
Ooh. He's rising. He's
I know.
rising.
And it's scaring me for the Jets at 16.
So 3 weeks he's not going to be there at 16, I'll tell you that.
You're killing me, Zach.
Well,
I know, but you're killing me.
3 weeks ago, I would have said he's absolutely going to be there.
Yeah.
But the mock drafts and the way that they've moved, and who knows what this actually means. I've seen Will Levis once projected to be the second overall pick of the draft, and he fell out of the first round. But I thought what I knew about this draft is that there was going to be 2 wide receivers in the top 10, and it was going to be Carnell Tate, and it was going to be Jordan Tyson. Yep. And the other day I saw a mock draft that I forget where in the top 10, but it was Makai Lemon. I think it was to the Saints. They had Lemon to the Saints, and then they had Tyson falling down out of the top 10 to somewhere in the 11 to 15 range.
I saw that same mock draft. I know exactly I forgot which one it was, but I know which one you're talking about.
I think Lemon is rising, and a few years ago, when you had the Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze draft, Neighbors in that process started to rise, where when the season ended, I think a lot of people were saying, oh, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. and it's Rome Odunze. But then through the draft process, Neighbors just kept on jumping and jumping and jumping, and eventually goes to the Giants. And you could make the case that, and you should make the case, I know he got hurt this year, if they could go back there, the Cardinals would probably take Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I know his dad, his first 3 years were not that great in the NFL, and he goes on to be one of the great wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And Marvin Harrison Jr. also doesn't have a quarterback. But right now, Neighbors looks like he's going to be a better player than Marvin Harrison Jr.
Zach Gelb joining me live here for a few more minutes here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Just want to ask you how you been, man. Again, you've been doing the 365 stuff. You've been all over the place. What's life been like kind of post-ISN for you?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. I do the show out of my apartment right on this set. So that's back to some 2020 COVID stuff, which I was hoping I would never have to do so again. But once you start doing the show from home, I thought it was going to be this big issue. It's not once you figure out how to place your microphone, your lights, and make sure that you're on Ethernet. So it's been fun. It's a good crew at 365 Sports. It's YouTube only. And, do I miss that day-to-day part of radio and the connection with that audience and the way that it happens? Sure. But a lot of people do carry over. And, we're still putting out content clips. Like we had Rob McClanahan on from 1980 USA. Miracle on Ice did over a 250,000 views on just Instagram. The Deion Sanders stuff was everywhere. My rant on the Darren Peterson situation did like 250,000 views as well. So we are dominating the social media space as well as we can. And then it's been cool. I did the NFL this year, 5 games for the Cowboys and then 2 other NFL games for Compass Media Networks as a studio host. And then they asked me to do about 10 basketball games this year for college. And it kind of found my love again for college basketball, where I was in a big fear spot that college basketball was just turning into a 1-month season sport. And as someone that watches a ton of NBA, the college basketball product this year with all the freshmen that are playing here in the United States, that because how many times you go to the draft and it's like, oh, I've never heard of these players. It's just it's foreign players, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to know what to say about these guys and just lie to the listening audience. These guys, there's going to be in the top 10 at least 8 or 7 Americans that are playing big time college basketball and have been fun to watch this year, and they're going to be fun to follow in March Madness in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, my audience knows. I've been telling them this whole stretch. It's like, this is the year to watch college basketball. And I know the year is kind of coming down, but definitely get ready for March Madness because there are so many great players. Again, if you like the NBA, a lot of these guys will be stars in the NBA. I think this is the best draft I've seen maybe since 2003. Maybe you want to go to the Derrick Rose draft if you want to go a draft earlier than that, where they had, Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook.
Fan, right? You're a big Darko Milicic fan?
Not quite. Someone who, idolized Carmelo Anthony, even though I was a St. John's fan. I loved Carmelo growing up. Definitely not a Darko fan that he went over ahead of Carmelo Anthony. But no, I love the NBA draft. And I'm like, if you love the NBA and you're excited about this draft, or you feel like you've missed the draft because so many, you mentioned the European guys. I was going to say, like, we had G League Ignite. How many of those guys were nobody's watching G League games, or they didn't see Scoot Henderson or Jalen Green play? Now these guys, because that's over with, and there's not as many guys in overtime elite, now everybody's in college basketball again, and they're all playing on really good teams. So they all should be a factor in March. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And there's a big game happening right now that I'll probably get to soon with St. John's and Connecticut once the show is over. Zach, man, this has been an absolute thrill. Thank you so much for joining me. Let the people know where they can follow you.
Yeah, sure. So you get me Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. And you could also go to youtube.com/@365SportsYT, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel on there, and you can catch my show there Monday through Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time-ish is the way that we like to say it. But obviously, it's great to catch up with you, and we'll get together in the city something soon. But yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. But the job that you did with Maggie and Perloff, and then also the way that you grew as a host, doing part-time stuff at the Fan, and then also for CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Network. I've known your journey, and it's been cool to kind of see you quickly grow before they basically just pulled the rug out from under you. But even though we're both still part-time at Odyssey, and that's not really an Odyssey problem, but I don't need to get into that and get myself into any trouble. But a lot of respect for what you've been able to build in the lane that you carved out for yourself at 345 Hudson Street.
Oh man, Zach, I appreciate that so much, man. And I always tell the story of, Zach replaced me at IWIP as the intern in the morning show with Angelo Cataldi. Like when we linked up and we realized that was the case, I was like, I was there summer. Like, oh, what summer were we there? 2014. You're like, I was there fall 2014. I was like, so you replaced me.
And also, you are a huge Patriot fan because my Matthew
Jesus, here we go.
Has been worn by you in
all right.
Spike Eskin. I love Spike Eskin, but how he allowed Maggie Gray to weasel her way out of that whole bet with that technicality, it was offensive, and I lost respect for Spike for about 2 hours, and then I realized this is not my issue. I don't need to care about it.
Yeah, and he's your boss, so you probably want to be on his good side. Yeah, no, that still, and I see the video sometimes still, and I'm like, on the pictures, like, that had nothing to do with me, and somehow I got roped into that. Maggie tries to get out of a bet, which tried to bet against the spread on the Bills losing a game to the Eagles, which is absurd. And because she said it, no one agreed to it on the show, by the way. Everybody was like, this is not happening. But because she kept saying it alone, Spike Eskin, our former boss, was like, now EJ's involved in this punishment, and you're all got to do something embarrassing.
Yeah, it made no sense. And you were actually the first person to wear that jersey because I got that jersey. And for some reason, I just, I have so many jerseys, I just didn't wear it. And I went to go wear it this year, and there was still a tag on it. And I go, this is the jersey that EJ wore. He wore this before I even was able to wear it.
Yeah, I didn't take the tag off. No.
I have Gabe for an EJ Stewart Patriot swag. I'll put it up on eBay and see if I could get like $10 so I could get dinner tonight.
You said $10. I was going to say 10 cents. Zach, you're the man. We definitely got to hang out soon. Good to see you as always, bud.
You got it, EJ. Be well. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Oh, that's awesome. Shout out to my good friend, Zach Gelb. Super kind words. Checks in the mail, Zach. No, I'm joking. I got no money. No, Zach's the man. He's a great dude. And I've said this, and like I said, when I started this, I wanted this to be, in many ways, again, a thank you to a lot of people that I got to meet in this industry through working at Infinity Sports Network and WFAN. So Zach was one of the immediate people I knew immediately I wanted to have on here. Because Zach, I'd say this a ton. Because Zach is an old soul, and you kind of probably get that feeling. Zach, now I have this beard and I have this gray, so now I probably do look a lot older than him. But Zach is older than me. But Zach's I'm assuming younger than me, I'm sorry. I'm older than Zach, right? But I always joke that to me, like, Zach is he's a young OG. Like, to me, Zach is the only person I would consider younger than me that I would consider my OG. Just because, just like, in terms of any advice or things, just chatting about the business or whatever, getting his feel for things, always open for that stuff. Again, he's become a very good friend, but he's such a media veteran for a short, it seems like a short time in his career, but he's now been in this game for a minute and he's done some incredible things. And I just really admire him and I respect him a ton. So, first, the kind words are great. Like, I love to hear that, but I'm lucky to have him as a friend, and I'm glad he's still doing his thing. He's a star. He's an absolute star, and all the people at Infinity Sports Network, I know maybe it sounds like you're just blowing smoke up. I'm not. They're all going to be fine because, seriously, like, there's so much talent on the roster that we had at Infinity Sports Network that I'm convinced that you'll see these people doing big things in other places. Some are already doing big things in other places. So Zach is going to be among them. He's already doing big things at 365, but I know he's going to be fine. And shout out to him. He's a great dude and great to be a friend of his. And thank you for the kind words and thank you for joining me on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Like I said, I do want to get to the St. John's, Connecticut game, but we still got a couple other things I want to get to before we get out of here. I want to talk about LeBron James. And a big thanks to Zach Gelb for joining me tonight. Here we go again. Where you got LeBron James. You knew it was going to come. You knew this was going to happen. Like, it's not surprising. He is very opportunistic. He sees an opportunity and an opportunity for him to come in and kind of be on his white horse and save the day. And here you have it. So you had this tweet that was reported, that was put out today. This was a report from Eric Pincus. And this is what it said. Quote, in terms of the Knicks as a potential landing spot for LeBron James this summer. Other teams to appeal to LeBron James are the Golden State Warriors and the New York Knicks. The Cavaliers and Knicks are among the Eastern Conference contenders. The Golden State Warriors have struggled to stay healthy, but Steph-James combination would be something to see. That's Eric Pincus reporting that the Knicks are among the teams that LeBron could join this upcoming season moving forward. So LeBron's going to be, he has an opt-in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but otherwise he'll be a free agent this year. The Knicks obviously have no money. How real this actually is, I don't really know. I will note, though, my good friend Chris Persianen, who does stuff for Clutch Sports, obviously he's done stuff for WFAN as well, and was filling on Maggie and Perloff's show as my associate producer on that show. He put out a tweet, because he's a reporter as well, reporter in the NBA, that you heard about the big powwow that happened between LeBron and Rich Paul last year. You want to know what that was about? This is what this was about. It was about this. They wanted to patch up whatever issues they had in the past because there was some interest from LeBron's camp of potentially joining the Knicks. It didn't go anywhere. Like, it was he said a lot of people, he said he didn't really report on it. A lot of people really didn't talk much more about it because it was not something that was worth reporting, to be honest. It just, nothing happened. He was interested for a second, and then nothing was going to happen to the Lakers, so he went back to the Lakers. I'll say this as a Knicks fan, and it's tough to say this at this point in time, because I flipped on Giannis. Remember I said this about Giannis? I was like, I don't want Giannis. I don't want him taking all the credit and whatever. And then I watched the Knicks lose 2 out of 11 games and look like the worst team in the NBA. And I was like, you know what? Giannis doesn't look too bad right now. Maybe I would trade for Giannis. This I'm going to stand 10 toes down on and not budge. I do not want LeBron James ever put on a Knicks uniform. Ever. Under any circumstances. Because if he puts on a Knicks uniform, because of the superstar and megastar that he is, and he's earned that right as one of the greatest players of all time. He is, in my opinion, the second greatest player to ever put on a basketball uniform and play on a basketball court. Because of the oxygen that he sucks in a room, and because of the attention that gets drawn to him and everything he does, the last thing I want is for a Knicks team where the last thing they're trying to accomplish, they've gotten to the playoffs, they've gone deep into the playoffs. The last thing they need to do to fully make this rise from the ashes of the Phoenix come full circle is to win a championship. I don't want this to become the LeBron James story. I don't want this to become the LeBron James show. And that's what it will become if LeBron James comes to the New York Knicks with a Knicks team that is itching for a title. That's what's going to become. And I don't want any part of that. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe it's me not looking at the forest through the trees. Maybe it's me being a stan or a mark. I don't care. I don't want the Knicks' journey to reaching the heights of an NBA championship to become about LeBron James's farewell tour. I want zero part of this. Nothing. Leave him away. Go to Cleveland. Stay in LA or go to the Warriors. I want nothing to do with this with the New York Knicks. This is a man who has spent a lot of his career talking down on the New York Knicks, talking crap about the New York Knicks, and trolling the New York Knicks and their fans. I don't want any part of this guy. Keep him away. I cannot say that as straightforward as possible. I never want to see LeBron James wearing a Knicks uniform. And let's move it from just the personal aspect, because like, hey, EJ, you're getting personal. It's just business. I think from a basketball standpoint, there's nothing I want to trade of value for LeBron James. He is still really good. He is still all-star caliber. He's still probably the smartest player in terms of basketball IQ in the NBA. But this is a diminished version of LeBron James. There's no question about that. I watch him play night in and night out. It's a diminished version. It's not a guy from even 2 years ago. He's still really good. He's still really effective. But if you have to make a trade potentially for LeBron James, because I'm sure he's going to want to get his money. I know I talked about trading Bridges. I'm not trading Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride and valuable pieces to put LeBron James on a team where he doesn't really make sense or fit. We already have OG Anunoby. You already got Mikal Bridges. And Cat's the center. Where are you putting LeBron James? LeBron can play the 4? Am I trading OG? Get out of here. Hanging up the phone immediately. We're not even having a conversation. OG's two-way efforts and what he brings defensively, you can't. I keep saying, I think he's probably the second most indispensable guy on the team besides Jalen Brunson because of his defense. So am I trading Cat? All right, now Mitchell Robinson is starting at center for 82 games. How's that going to work out? I don't feel comfortable with that. Okay, I'm trading Bridges. All right, I'm not crazy about Bridges right now, but I'm going to have to trade other pieces. So, again, who else am I trading on this team to make that money match for whatever money LeBron would want? And then also from a fit standpoint, LeBron is not really a laser as a jump shooter. You know, we have Cat, but now defensively you lose something because LeBron isn't as impactful a defender as Bridges is. Do we have enough shooting around Jalen Brunson and Cat with LeBron and Josh Hart out there? I don't love the fit even from a basketball standpoint. So I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of this. I'm not mincing words with this. I saw this. I don't think anything's going to happen. But I told y'all when you had Max Kellerman going on that podcast, Rich Paul, just floating the idea of like, why not the New York Knicks? Imagine if the Knicks got him. And I'm like, why would LeBron's agent and his best friend allow him to say this on a platform? LeBron says, he's his own man. I let him do what he wants. He works for you. Like, what do you... I hate when people say stuff like that. He's his own man. He does whatever he wants. He's your employee. There is no he's his own man. No, he's not. LeBron James told Rich Paul tomorrow, hey, get me to X, Y, and Z or do this and that. Rich Paul, it has to do that. That's his job. He's an employee. So I saw LeBron James' agent doing a podcast with Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman is saying, what about the New York Knicks? If LeBron wants nothing to do with the Knicks, what is the value of his agent being on a podcast openly talking about whether or not LeBron will be a fit with the Knicks? There is none. So when I saw that, I said, okay, I know what time it is. I know what this is about. Now the Knicks were struggling at that time. It kind of seemed like, well, it's not looking that great. Maybe LeBron, maybe. And then that went away, and then we've been playing the rest of the season, and then what happens? The Knicks had a couple of bad losses, and what pops up? LeBron interested in the Knicks. Here we go again. Are you desperate enough? I'm never going to be desperate enough for LeBron to be a New York Knick ever. Let me make that very clear. Hall of Fame player, second greatest player of all time. What he's done at his age, he's a physical marvel, and he's an inspiration to a lot of people. I do not want to see him play for the New York Knicks. If he wins a championship somewhere else, if he has a great farewell tour somewhere else, that's totally fine. Him doing a farewell tour with the New York Knicks would be just bizarre. Kind of the origin story of the new age Knicks fan that has suffered through the Phil Jackson, the blow up of the 2013 Knicks team, of all the I'm of the age of sort of teenage years of I'm like the Scott Layden, Isaiah Thomas. That's my this is a rough environment to be involved in as a Knicks fan. That's my origin. That's my villain origin story as a Knicks fan. Why are you jaded? Isaiah Thomas and Scott Layden. For the next generation, that's right before me, so I'm 34, so you're talking about the 20 to 30-year-olds, it's LeBron James deciding that he's going to go to the Heat, not go to the Knicks. Which, he has a decision to do. He can do whatever he wants. The Heat decision is whatever. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not opening that can of worms anymore. You can feel however you feel about it. I don't care. But that was the original thing of oh, man, he acted like he wanted to be a Knick, and now he's not. Well, okay, whatever. But again, he is someone that has made slide remarks. Oh, you did David Fizdale wrong. You should have drafted Dennis Smith. Saying all this nonsense. He always wanted to make his presence felt and his voice opinionated about what the Knicks were doing. While he was trying to compete for championships, he seemed to be very worried about the Knicks. I know we give KD a lot of hell because he talked a lot about the Knicks, but at least he was here in the city. He was playing for a Knicks rival. So that smoke is a little more pure. And it's a little more, what's the word when they say with Kate Cunningham, he plays ethical basketball. That is ethical smoke that Knicks fans may have with Kevin Durant. That I think even he would probably respect because he likes talking back and forth. The smoke with LeBron is real. This is not, oh, he plays on another team and he didn't choose us. No, this is he had nothing to do with this Knicks, and he still wanted to keep talking about the Knicks and dancing on their grave. Get this guy out of here. Your Lakers don't want you anymore, so now you're stuck without a home, and you may have to go back to Cleveland to have this farewell tour you want. And you're thinking, well, maybe the Knicks can be an option. I got to spend my last year at Madison Square Garden now at this stage of your career when you're this old? No. Hopefully, I don't ask James Dolan to step in and do much. Hopefully, James Dolan has some sense and steps in and tells Leon Rose, hang up the damn phone. We're not bringing this guy in here. I don't want LeBron James at all with the New York Knicks. I want to get to this story. I'm running out of time here. I do want to get to this college basketball game. The beef that's happening between Pete Crow Armstrong and the city of Los Angeles. I hope you guys have been paying attention to this because this is an insane story. I don't know why this is happening. You know how we talk about there are industry plants? They say in really in all fields, but we talk about it mostly in music, where someone who seemed to have come completely out of nowhere, they don't have a demo tape or a freestyle or some mixtape that got hot or whatever. They don't have any background that would make it sense for them to all of a sudden become a number one single person and be where did this person come from, right? There are a bunch of people that they make those claims about. I'm not gonna name them because I don't want to smoke with anybody, but they're people who they think are industry plants, and they say it about music. You can probably say it all sports media. Ooh, who said that? Did I say that? No. But there's people everywhere, right? It's someone just decided that this person needed to be a star, and therefore they're a star. That doesn't really happen in sports because you have to earn your way to being a star, right? You can't do the Bronny James where you say, I don't care what you did in college. We're just going to put you in the Lakers, and you're going to succeed. Nope. It's a merit-based thing. If you're just not good, you're not good. Nothing you can do about it. I feel like this Pete Crow Armstrong story almost feels like a planted story or a planted narrative. Because I'm where is this coming from? Why is it, and why has it become so, it seems from Pete Crow Armstrong's standpoint, almost kind of personal how he's talking about Dodger fans. So let's back up. Let's bring you how this all began. Pete Crow Armstrong said this. I don't know where he said this, But he made this comment about talking about the Cubs fans and why he loves playing for the Chicago Cubs. He said this: "I love Chicago more and more. The people are great. They give a blank. They aren't baseball fans who go to the game like Dodgers fans to take pictures and whatever. They're paying attention. They care." It's like, obviously a shot at Dodger fans. It's a reputation that they have, to be clear. It's not like this is new territory for the Dodgers and what people think about their fan base. People think about the people that go to Dodger Stadium, which is that they're a fair weather fan base. That they show up late to games. They'll definitely leave early to beat traffic. They're a celebrity crowd. They're kind of it's a complicated crowd to explain. I've never been to a Dodger game, but this is how people describe it. I want to go to a Dodger game. We talk about bucket list stadiums. Dodger Stadium is up there. I'll probably give you guys my bucket list stadiums at one point, one of these shows, before I wrap up 40 days and 40 nights. But that's what they say. The bleacher atmosphere is totally different than what happens in the rest of the, in the infield and behind the home plate. It's just a different vibe. But this thing of Dodger Stadium kind of being somewhat of a tourist trap, not new territory, or their fans not being, diehards and being fair weather, also not new territory, and not a new beef. But the Dodgers have won the World Series. You could argue this is the golden age of Dodgers baseball, of LA Dodgers baseball. I mean, maybe you argue Brooklyn. There was a time where there was a golden age of Brooklyn Dodgers baseball for sure. But as far as Los Angeles, this is the golden age. You've won 2 World Series. You've won 3 in 5 years, or 6 years, or whatever. Yeah, this is definitely the golden age at this point. So, Angelinos felt the way about it. They've been getting after Pete Crow Armstrong. What I didn't know about Pete Crow Armstrong, which I should have known, but I didn't know until today, is that he's from the Los Angeles area. He's from the San Bernardino Valley, which then that became interesting because some people are like, well, he's from the Valley. Of course he would think that. They're not real LA people. I'm like, I'm not from LA. LA is one of my all-time favorite cities in America, but I thought the Valley was synonymous with LA culture. I know it's not South Central. I know it's not Hollywood. I know it's not downtown. I know there are certain neighborhoods, it's not Koreatown, it's not Santa Monica, it's not, there's a whole bunch of neighborhoods, it's not Venice. I know LA okay pretty well. I've been there a couple of times. I know it's not but I think you think of LA culture, people say, oh, the people from the Valley. I feel like that's something you hear in almost any show based in LA. And they kind of get a negative connotation for reasons I don't quite understand still yet. Hopefully, if I get to move out to California, which is my dream at one point in my life, when I'm maybe a little older, I'll understand some of this stuff. But the Valley seems synonymous with LA stuff. So I'm confused. Now I'm wait, now you're saying he's from the Valley, now he's not really from LA? I thought it's literally part of LA City. It's part of the city limits. So I don't really understand it. Maybe it's how New Yorkers talk about Staten Island people. I don't know. But so this became this whole crazy deal. And again, I was going to talk about it, but I didn't because I was like, well, kind of came and went. It was kind of a bizarre story, but I kind of moved on. LA people were going crazy about it, but then that was it. Pete Armstrong heard y'all talking about him, clearly, because then he came today on Foul Territory, and he had a lot of smoke for Dodger fans and what he thinks of when he thinks of Dodger culture at Dodger Stadium.
I grew up going to Dodgers games when they weren't always good, when they had Manny Wood pop up, but it's they go in phases, and I remember all fans fight and stuff, but putting the Giants fan in the coma, that stuck with me as a kid. Just little things, and sitting in the stands, just nasty stuff goes on. I didn't always experience that at other ballparks. But like I said, that has nothing to do with who's actually on the field for them. I love playing against them. And I just love what they're doing right now.
I mean, bringing up obviously that's a serious story, but bringing up the Giant fan that got put into a coma to paint a pretty broad brush about Dodger fans is stepping out there if you're Pete Crow Armstrong, especially if that is where you're from, where I would I would think at some point, maybe in your adult life, but at some point later in your life that you'd want to eventually go back to live in LA and live in the Valley or live somewhere else in LA. And he is giving it to the Dodger fans in terms of the vibe, saying that he's a kid of Mannywood. Right? I mentioned how like for me like different Knicks fans are gonna have different things that turn them into the crazy person that they are. The Isaiah Thomas late in the years are that for me, and then for other people it's gonna be LeBron in the decision, and then what came out of that, and Phil Jackson and Steve Mills and all the failures from the Knicks front office. Like, it's funny for Peter Armstrong. I was like, I remember the good old days, like Mannywood. And I'm like, all right. I was like maybe in college when Manny Ramirez was on the what's it called, on the Dodgers. So it's kind of funny that he mentions that as the good old days. But he says it's kind of a hit or miss thing. But he mentioned the serious incident where the Dodger fans beat up that guy who ended up being in a coma, that Giants fan, simply for it seemed like just being a Giants fan. It definitely was a black guy for the organization and a black guy for the Dodger fans. And he says it affected him as a kid, which, again, I think I was in college around that time, maybe late high school when that happened. If you're a young person, you're a child, you hear about that, and that's your home stadium, that's where you go, it's probably a little scary. He says he's seen things at Dodger Stadium that's a little scary. And again, like I want no smoke, but I'm just telling you that people will say, hey, different bleachers where you're sitting, it can be a little bit rowdy in a uncomfortable way. So it's a weird crowd. But this is different than the first comment, which was, well, y'all just aren't really into the team that much. This became you guys are actually like bad people, which is a big turn for him in terms of his feelings about this. Here's what I'll say. Again, number one, I just, not that Pete Armstrong has to listen to me, but it's a long career you have. You never know who you may play for. The Dodgers give out a lot of money. You just never know where your career may go, and you may want to end up playing for the team. And again, that is your hometown team in your home area. So forget about even playing for the Dodgers. You may want to eventually live there. I don't know if you want to start a war with their fans. The one thing I will say is the message I could understand anybody delivering, because what Pete Armstrong is saying is not something that is some foreign idea. Dodger fans are fair weather. Dodger fans aren't that into their team the way they say they are. And it could feel dangerous depending on where you're sitting at Dodger Stadium. Those are not new things. Is it crazy for a Major League Baseball player to come out and say that, especially where that's where he's from? Yes. But those aren't the first time Dodger fans have heard that. I think this may be wrong messenger, though, if you're talking about like Cubs fans and that original quote, which I'll play you. I won't play you, but I'll show you one more time, which was, I love Chicago more and more. They give a bleep. They aren't just baseball fans who go to the game like Dodgers fans and take pictures or whatever. This is where I say you got the wrong messenger, buddy. You're the wrong messenger. You play at Wrigley Field. I posted the picture yesterday on social media. They literally doing a snake, beer can snake moving throughout the outfield during their games. It is known to essentially have a afternoon happy hour kind of vibe at the stadium. That is also a tourist trap kind of place. And I love Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field is right behind Dodger Stadium as my number 2 for bucket list baseball stadiums I want to go to. I want to go to both these places, to be clear. Maybe that doesn't sound like the way I'm talking about them, but I want to go to both these stadiums. They're both places I've always wanted to see a game at. I've even talked about maybe trying to go in a couple of months when I do my bachelor party, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But, like, let's be real. You play at Wrigley Field, and we know what the Cubs' vibe is in their home games. There are a lot of tourists there. There are a lot of people who are just from the other team there. There are fans who, they love the Cubs and they love being at Wrigley Field and being a part of the environment. But part of that environment is not just I'm looking and watching the game and I got my scoreboard, my scorecard out, and I'm scoring the game and I'm locked in. That's not the vibe at Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field, you're hopping at bars outside the arena, or stadium rather. You got people sitting on the bleachers outside the arena watching the game from a bar rooftop. It's a party kind of vibe. Like, you can't sit here and say this about Dodger fans or you're a Cubs player. If a Yankee said this, I would say he's right. I would say there's nothing I can say. Like Yankee Stadium, those people go. And that also, it's kind of tourist trappy a little bit, but you go to Yankee Stadium, those people are there to watch the game. The pressure is as high as it gets in baseball. They want to win every game, kind of like Knicks fans are, except they actually have backed up that a little bit more. Like, you go to a Yankee game, people are there for Yankee baseball. It's not, this is a tourist situation. This is, let's have fun and let's do a beer snake in the outfield, or let's have a beer contest, or and all the things that happen at Wrigley Field, which makes, by the way, Wrigley Field awesome. None of those things are critiques about Wrigley Field that I'm saying. I'm saying to say that we're way more serious than those like fair weather fans over there. It's like, no, you're not. You can't deliver that. You can't deliver that message. I'm sorry, and not credibly. You can do whatever you want, but you can't credibly deliver the message that Wrigley Field is way more serious about baseball than Dodger Stadium, and our fans they're there just to only watch the game. You had a beer can snake in your outfield. No, you're not. No, you're not. Wrigley Field is awesome for reasons that have nothing to do with the fans being hardcore baseball fans. What is he talking about? What? That's the only part of this I found, I think, a little bit like wrong messenger, and I found funny. I'm like, yeah, if you played for, you played for the Red Sox. There are certain teams where I say, yeah, okay, you can say that about this team. You played for the Phillies. Like, okay, you want to get smoke to the Dodger fans and y'all leave games early, you guys are fair weather? Sure. And to be clear, Cubs fans aren't fair weather. But he's talking about atmosphere at the stadium. Like, among all the other things. Are they more diehard? Sure. Are they not fair weather? Diehard? Sure. Are they not fair weather? Sure. Are they more serious about baseball? They're only there for the game? Get out of here, Pete Armstrong. You know that's not the case. You play there 82 games a year. You know that's not the case. Why would you say that? Which makes me wonder. Again, he got some smoke with the Dodgers. I don't know what it is. And he said he wanted to couch it saying, I love their team. I love what they've done. He couched it before that quote saying, I love their players. I'm a big fan of Shohei and all those guys. And I didn't play that sound, but I kind of wanted to. My theory on why he kept couching being like, I love the team, and I love what they do, and I love those players. I still think that there is part of this CBA negotiation where everyone who plays in Major League Baseball has to talk about how much they love the Dodgers. Because you won't find anybody saying anything bad about them. Not one person. Even Manny Machado, who is probably the Los Angeles Dodgers' #1 op in all of Major League Baseball. He left them. He went to the Padres. He's fought them on the field. That is probably one of the few still real blood rivalries that we have in baseball right now. Even he was like, I got a lot of love for the Dodgers and what they've done in their offseason and what they do in baseball. I'm like, this guy of all people? I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here. But Pete clearly had something to say about how he felt about Dodger fans, and maybe, maybe that now he plays for the Cubs, that he grew up around a lot of Dodger fans. Maybe he's seen them in their feelings, talking about, how great they are. So he's probably getting tired of it. He's like, I'm around you guys. You guys are phony. So but then he had to say, but I still love the team. No, nothing against the team, nothing against the players. I want to just only talk about the fans and the atmosphere in the stadium. I found that quite funny. Bob in the chat here, clearing something up that I think was important. I mentioned people from LA have been trying to dismiss Pete Crow Armstrong's criticism by saying, well, he's not really a real Angelino, because he's from the Valley. Which I'm like, that's confusing, because the Valley is part of the city limits. Also, I feel like any culture relevance or reference to LA or any shows about LA often references the Valley, so why would you dismiss him as a true LA person? Bob says, EJ, the San Bernardino Valley is different than the San Fernandino Valley. It's mind-boggling one thing, they're pro. 90 minutes apart, so San Bernardino is a totally lower middle-class hood. Yeah, I didn't realize I screwed that up. So he is from the Valley, and I believe that's the San Fernandino, or am I wrong about that? That I don't know. He said here, there are some nice areas, places near San Bernardino, but San Bernardino stuff is not high-end. Yes, Fernandino is loaded with wealth, high-end homes, and that's where celebrities live. Yeah, that's where I think he's from. If I said San Bernardino, apologies, I meant San Fernandino. He is from north of, Hollywood, that area. That's where he grew up. And it makes sense because his mom is an actress. His mom was in Little Big League. So he's from that world. And yeah, I assume that's high-end celebrities and all that stuff. Again, that's why I assumed, right? And I'm like, I thought that is LA. I know LA's a lot bigger than that, but I'm just saying, in terms of when I think of LA culture for people who are from the outside or people who even live in LA, I'm like, people are like, oh, he's from the Valley, he's not really LA. I'm like, what? Again, it feels like saying somebody from the Upper East Side is not from New York. I'm like, Are there rich people there? Yeah. Is it as authentic an experience as other places in New York? No, but it's definitely New York City. Like, you can't just erase it because you don't like those people. So I found that very confusing. But they seem to dismiss him in his commentaries because they said, oh, he's from the Valley. I didn't understand that. So my apologies. If I said San Bernardino, he's from the where rich people are, which I believe is north of. That's like where Burbank is. Again, past Hollywood Hills. I'm pretty sure that is the San Bernardino Valley, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where he's from, which is in the city. So I don't know how he's having issues with Dodger fans saying he's not authentic. I don't really understand that aspect of it. I wonder if I should save this one for tomorrow. I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna save one more for tomorrow. I'm gonna leave it there because I do want to talk. I want to give a real, true breakdown of the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer. I promise you, we will get to that tomorrow. It's 8 o'clock. I want to get out of here on time, but I want to talk about the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer. I am someone who has defended Mortal Kombat 1 and saying that I think it was a pretty good movie. I think for what they were trying to do and what my expectations were I guess were very low, I ended up pretty much enjoying it. I was actually watching it. It came on randomly a couple days ago. I was watching a couple minutes of it. It's a little cartoonish. There are some moments that are very cringe, but overall I liked it. It had some issues, but overall I liked it. This trailer they dropped today looks gas. Like, I'm like, yo, I like the first one. I was defending the first one. I feel like a moron now. This new one, they leveled up, it seems like. It seems like you're going to get an awesome sequel to the first Mortal Kombat movie of this new generation, which would be the flip of what happened in the 90s. Because in the 90s, they had the Mortal Kombat movie, and the first movie was really good. Second one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Absolutely horrendous. It seems like we had the flip of that. Where I don't think the first one was terrible. I thought it was good. It seems like the first one, mixed reviews. It's a trailer. It's only a trailer, but just the visuals. It's leveled up. It looks like a much better movie. So I'm really excited about it. I don't want to just throw it at the end of the show and just like try to run through it. I don't want to waste time like that. I want to give it its full time. So we will talk about that tomorrow morning because I can't wait to talk about this movie and see this movie when it comes out in May. I want to thank my good friend Zach Gelb for coming on today, man. He did his thing. Again, make sure you follow Zach Gelb at X. I think that's where he is at on every social media platform. Make sure you check out his show. I love how he said 2 to 4-ish. I love that because someone who also is doing this kind of live stream deal and you're getting ready and, you know, you're not, you say, yeah, 2 o'clock, whatever, or for me, 8 a.m., 6 p.m., but you want to make sure the show is right. Like, whereas before, if you're doing a radio show where you're like, things aren't ready. Well, we got to go live anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. We've got to fix things during the show. But you have commercial breaks. You have things that you can catch up to figure things out as you can get through your show if everything's not 100% ready by the time showtime is. It's not the case if you're doing your own live stream. You go live, that's it. There's no commercials. There's no, let me grab this or do that. There's nothing you can do. So I related to when he was like, oh, I'm 2 to 4-ish. Because I'm kind of like 8 a.m.-ish and 6 a.m.-ish. Because, try to start as close as we can to that. But I don't want to start and forget stuff or have things wrong. Like, I'd rather have it right before I start rather than just rush up here. But big thanks to my guy, Zach Gelb. He came in. He dropped the mic. He did his thing as I knew he would. And thank you to him for the kind words. Make sure you go support him and all he's doing moving forward. And thank you guys for checking out 40 Days and 40 Nights, man. This is night 33. Ooh, we're coming down to the wire. It's crazy to see. Now, night 34 is tomorrow. We're 40 days of this. This is insane. We're going to have more fun guests. I feel burned by and shout out to Evan Roberts. I don't feel like it's not like I feel like bad about it. Like he was dealing with something really important. That's why he couldn't come on this week. Hopefully maybe I hit him up again, maybe he can come on next week. But there was an important reason why he couldn't come on. I guess that was Tuesday, right? Or maybe it was Monday. I think it was Monday But shout out to Evan Roberts. Hopefully we'll get him on soon. I think I can confirm that I have this guest for tomorrow. The only reason I say that is because last time I confirmed the guest, it was, Evan. And, of course, Evan couldn't make it because he had something important come up. But I'll hold it. I don't want to jump the gun. But I think we have a really awesome guest lined up for tomorrow night. Zach was asking me what's going to happen night 40. I was like, I haven't gone that far. I'm just trying to get through the next show next day. That's that kind of the nature of doing this. But I have an awesome Knicks guest for you tomorrow that I think is going to come through. I'm not going to say what or who because I want to make sure it comes through. But if things work out the way I expect it to, I'm really excited about who we'll have tomorrow. That's going to be a ton of fun. So make sure you keep it locked in here for 48 to 40 nights. Obviously, night 34 will be tomorrow night. Day 34 will be tomorrow morning. Big thanks to you guys for checking me out on YouTube, where we're streaming live New Generation Media, on X, EJ_Stewart, and on Instagram, ActionEJ. Be sure to check out the podcast channel. New Generation Podcast Network is where you can get this episode and all other episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search New Generation Podcast Network. Again, big thanks to my good friend Zach Gelb for coming on the show. We'll see what we have tomorrow. And we'll have a lot more fun tomorrow. We'll probably talk some Johnnies versus Connecticut. I got to watch the second half of this game because this is an important game in the Big East standings and one of the better games we'll probably have in this college basketball slate. I'm EJ Stewart. This was a ton of fun. I'll see you guys tomorrow.